What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and today we're talking about Blue Mage 101, everything you want to know when getting started with the Blue Mage. So in this guide, we're going to be talking about where the quest starts, skilling up versus leveling up, skills required for advancements, totems and how to really get Mighty Guard and White Wind plus others, instances and how to access them, and finally tips and tricks for farming those instances. So let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. If there's anything this guide doesn't cover that you want me to go more in depth in, please sound off. Please let me know. I hope to hopefully help you guys at least share my love for this job. I know it is a very, I guess, a split difference in the community, but for the most part, this job is very fascinating. There is a lot that makes it different, and in practice, it can be very jarring. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go into where you unlock this job. So to start, you're looking for the quest Out of the Blue. You have to be a disciple of war magic at least level 50, and it starts in the Limsa Lominsa lower decks here at 10 and 11. If you pull up the map, it's right here in the Aetheryte Plaza. So just port into the lower decks, you're going to see the Zealous Yellow Jacket. The real only requirement besides being level 50 is that you must have first completed the main scenario quest, the Ultimate Weapon. Having done so, being level 50, you can come out here and you can pick up Blue Mage and you can get started. That's really all there is. You do not need to own Stormblood or Heaven's Word. You just need to have the base game. Now, one of the choices you're going to have to make as a new Blue Mage is whether you want to level up or whether you want to skill up. Leveling up is really going to be about XP focused, and yes, you're going to learn some skills just inherent by doing it, but it's really all about your priorities. The reason I say this is that typically you might find, even now, that where players are massed trying to farm a skill, there's more competition for that skill. And if you don't get the claim, most likely you're not going to get the skill whatsoever. Through all our tests, it shows that really you want the claim to be able to be eligible for the skill. Also, you do not want to be in a cross-world party finding situation with people, otherwise somebody in your party can get the skill and you won't. So that is either a bug or just by design. So cross-world matching parties do not farm skills in a cross-world party finder situation. That's just not going to be good. But at the core of it, pick whether you're leveling or you're skilling, because that's going to help set your expectation and set your excitement for what is happening, because leveling is all about XP. Skilling is obviously going to be random. You're going to be going against RNG, but you can build bigger blue parties with that, and that's actually one of the things you want to take a look at. One of the skills I would recommend is from the Upkalu here. It is called the Flying Sardine. This is a instacast ability plus a silence, but the instacast ability side of it, as you can see, it's very weak. You want to see them use that skill so you can actually put out some damage, kind of force them into using it, and then go ahead and continue then your attack. So once they use their skill, you can then burn them down and be able to get it. And it's really exciting how that works, but you have to be careful, especially when there's a lot of people around. They might accidentally kill the mob, or you could be getting trolled or things like that. So if you're focusing on skilling up, don't worry about that XP. In fact, if you're around a lot of people, grab them, invite them into your group, because if one person learns it, if one Blue Mage learns it, everybody learns it, and it goes so much smoother. And so like I said, what you really want to focus in on, just from a leveling or skilling up as soon as possible, try to get that Flying Sardine spell. Obviously the Upkalu are level 30, so either bring a high level friend, or as soon as you can survive a fight with him, this is an ability that you're going to want to have, because when you're doing those farms, like I said, it's going to chip them away and allow you to force them into maybe a phase. But the instacast will also help you lay claim to various things, so people will compete with it, because there is no cast time. You can get the claim as it goes from there. So just keep that in mind. If there are multiple people farming an ability, team up with them. It's going to be a much better experience rather than compete against them for it. There's really no advantage in competing, because again, it gets shared with everybody. So there's excitement if one person learns it, because everybody in the party has learned it. But if you're outside the party and you don't get the claim, can't help you. While the quest does kick off out in Limsa Lominsa, you're going to continue pretty much all of it from Ul'dah, at least 1 through 50. So go out to the Weaver's Guild or somewhere area like that, because you're looking for this area right here. Right now you can see a crowd has amassed, and you want to be able to talk to these NPCs. Now if you talk to the wayward Jahila Jah, you can acquire various totems, and you can see that I've acquired all of them, but this is how you're going to learn Transfusion, White Wind, Mighty Guard, and Off Guard. These unlock based off of the number of spells that you have already learned. So by farming spells, eventually you're going to be rewarded with new spells from these totems. However, certain spells are going to be required for you to advance the story. Blood Drain, Mind Blast, 1,000 Needles, and Glower would be some examples. And you can see that some of these are actually behind instances. So we'll talk about how you get into instances here in just a second. But you will see a very exclamation mark on these question blocks that you have not learned, so that it tells you, hey, you need to learn this skill, you need to learn this spell, so that way you can advance the story. Therefore, if you come into this area, you'll see a quest, you'll see it red, and it will tell you, like, hey, you have not learned Blood Drain, hey, you have not learned Glower, you need to go do that. So there's going to be some requirements in your skill farm to advance the story, and the reason you want to do that is that way you can unlock the Mass Carnival. From a skill prioritization, you do want to make sure you get to 10 skills, because with that you're going to learn Mighty Guard and White Wind. Mighty Guard is your tank stance. This is going to reduce your damage output, but it's going to increase your hate that you build up, so that way you can end up having obviously the hate and the intention keeping them off of other people. White Wind is a super awesome cure. I would recommend using it when your life is only at half, because it's going to take whatever your current life is and heal you all the way up. This gives you a healing build and a tank build within just like very quickly within 10 spells. And this makes it easier when you go into various content. I would not advise using dungeons to level. You really do not want to waste your time with that experience. You want to be focusing on open world mobs. However, when it comes to skill farming, having White Wind and having Mighty Guard are a real big help, especially if you can't get a friend to come help you burn things down in an unsynced, dungeon. So a number of things people usually say, like, well, you can't, how is it a Blue Mage is doing dungeons? How are you doing this kind of content? I thought it was a solo only job. And honestly, it's the most social job that I've been playing recently. But you can see here, all this content is locked away, and I cannot take advantage of it because I am not, I cannot queue for any of this. However, I can go to recruit members, or I can go to view recruiting members and join in pre-made parties. This allows me to be able to enter into this content. However, it does not require that I have 4 people. So make sure you go take advantage of your settings here. So you'll see Open Duty Fighter settings, Undersized Party, and Confirm. And all of a sudden, all these locks will go away. And then I can solo queue, or I can queue with friends at any size, at any level range, any way I want. So you need to go into a 4-man preformed party, and it's going to sync you to the whatever the level required is. So if I went in with a 4-man on Cutter's Cry, without that, I could do that if I wanted. However, if I don't want to be limited to the levels, if I just go for the skill farm, make sure you turn on that undersized party and go in, and then you can go in and queue and join that. And this would basically just make it to where I could just go in solo, and I'm ready for that instance content. The Blue Mage can pretty much take part in the raids, take part in all of these things, 50 and below, but you're going to have to kind of get creative. You're going to have to do a party finding option. I'm going to go ahead and withdraw from that. If you guys have not seen the party finder, you can get to it via the party finder under your party menu, or under the duty finder menu. So if I wanted to go and do a party finding session here for Cutter's Cry, I can say recruit members, then I can put in all my parameters. I can say and let people know that this is an undersized party. I can say that their average item level needs to be like 130 or more. That ensures that they're obviously level 50. I can make it private, I can make it cross-world or not cross-world as well. I would recommend that you would, if you're going to do skill farm, do not do a data center, do just your world, because anybody who comes into the data center is going to change your party makeup, and it's going to make it to where only one person gets a role. So one person in your party could get the skill or the spell, and you won't, because you're in a cross-world party finder. So keep that in mind if you're utilizing this, and then you can go ahead and recruit and go from there. Finally, there are a couple spells that you might want to take with you when doing instance farming. Final Sting and Self-Destruct really kind of ring a bell. Now, Self-Destruct will put out a lot of damage to enemies near you, so you can actually win the encounter. But in encounters where you want to, wipe so that you have another chance at respawning the mob, rather than running the whole dungeon over and over again, Hawk Manor is a really good example for level 5 Petrify. You want to have Self-Destruct and Final Sting. Final Sting will kill you. Self-Destruct will kill you. Final Sting will kill your target or put out a ton of damage against them. And Self-Destruct will do the same, obviously, if they're in range. You can see potency of 900, and if you added Toad Oil to this, it's 1200. This is a very powerful blast of a spell. So keep that in mind. And it's critical so that you can wipe, and then that way like the boss will respawn and you have another chance at like an ad who has that ability. So from a farming and a skill farming perspective, self-destruct, final sting, and even transfusion will have the abilities here to kind of focus in on what makes the most sense for you. It's self-sacrificial, it has all these different options, but that's why these skills kind of come into play. There's some, like I said, self-sacrifice when it comes to blue, and you might be like, why would I want to kill myself? Well, there's definitely times, and so go ahead and take advantage of that. And finally, let's go ahead and conclude with some gear talk. There's really only a handful of weapons. You can see here, this weapon has no stats to it, no intelligence, no additional stat boosters. All of your gear is going to be what is accounted for when attacking. So your spells are weighted a little bit differently because it does not take your weapon into play here. They've only got a handful of weapons that you can get, and you can get the second weapon. You're going to have the first weapon pretty much the entire time. But your gear is going to end up being what's most important to you. So just keep that in mind. Keep working on that. That's going to boost your strength. Now, if you can burn and get a power leveling up to 50, you can save yourself some money and not having to worry about like intermittent steps, because pretty much poems and the game will reward you with several 130 level pieces that will help with obviously when you get to cap. So don't sit here and stress about it. Don't worry about finding new weapons along the way. Just focus in on different gear pieces. Intelligence has a huge role in your damage output. Well, that pretty much wraps us up for our 101 Introduction to Blue Mage. Hopefully these tips have been helpful. Hopefully you're going to pick whether you're leveling or you're skilling. Hopefully you're going to be able to find the right farms and get the abilities and kind of build out some interesting specs for the Blue Mage. We've got a lot to cover about this job. There's a lot to dive into, lots of spells to learn, and this is just the beginning. Would I recommend you play this job? Absolutely. This is not going to be your main job, but this is going to be a job that really kind of engages you in the world, in the content, and offers something that Final Fantasy has not offered up to this point, is that various builds. There's all kinds of different builds that you can kind of speculate, all different kinds of skills that you might want to take with you when trying to build out the optimal DPS tank or healer for this job. So have fun, go nuts, experiment with it. And if you got any questions, like I said, let me know in the comments below. Love to hear from you. And if you guys like these videos, be sure to hit that like button. We really appreciate it. It helps share out the videos, helps share out the channel. And we really thank you for being here, and hopefully you have a fantastic day. But anyway, my name is Brian. This is Work to Game. I'm going to talk to you soon. Take care.
Oh, hello. Were you expecting somebody? Chuck-like? Well, I'll never tell where he is. Only that if you want to see your friend again, you should totally hit subscribe. And maybe even a thumbs up. Thumbs down don't make me happy. And when I'm not happy, something happens to Chuck. I'm not joking. Goodbye. Subscribe. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. See you next time.